been there. I mean, we all been there. Most of us driving for last 10, 20, 30 years. And I'm not very sure how many minutes you really spent at a petrol pump. Probably a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, where the amenities are virtually absent. Surely there are some interesting development. Companies like GOBP or Shell coming up with new exciting looks, amenities at their petrol pumps right now. But I guess it will probably take a lot more than the 69,000 odd petrol pumps, not just to serve 69,000 charging stations. Probably will require a lot more than that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the charging time is never going to be a minute or 2 minutes. It's always going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay, so as our attendees are joining, I'll just quickly begin our session. Welcome to the Blue Circle. It's such a big privilege and pleasure to connect with everyone and our distinguished keynote speaker, who is handpicked because of the think input and the rich experience he brings in. And thank you to our leaders for joining us, most of whom are CEOs, CXOs, and senior leaders. Many of them are our members and are repeat visitors to our webinars. This is very encouraging and motivates us to provide even higher levels of dialogue through the online mode as well. For those of you who are new with us today, Blue Circle is the world's first sector-specific networking app for business leaders that's built in India. We currently focus on 20 sector communities such as e-mobility, renewable energy, real estate, healthcare, and many more. We also present socioeconomic insights, which ultimately determine the evolving complexion of the market. Along with our weekly webinar series and our digital publication, you will be happy to know that we have recently launched the first version of the Blue Circle app for leaders. Somewhat like the sector-specific LinkedIn for senior leaders, a space to have meaningful conversations, connect with over 10,000 plus like-minded leaders from India and across the globe, house high-quality curated content, and access business opportunities across these sectors. Those leaders among you who are interested, please do join us. I will share the link to the app in the chat section, and will soon be sending out invitations to our new guests post today's discussion. Now, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce today's keynote speaker, Mr. Kartikey Hariyani, founder and CEO, CHARGE+ZONE. Combining Texo's expertise in electrical engineering, CHARGE+ZONE is an exciting venture focusing on the EV charging infrastructure through IoT deployment and OEM partnerships. They're currently present in 22 cities, serving buses and cars, with over 400 charging stations already deployed on the ground. They have partnered with large OEMs such as Ashok Leyland, Tesla, BYD, and fleet operators such as BlueSmart. And for today's topic, Mr. Kartikey Hariyani will be discussing Intercity highway electrification for EVs. Now I request Mr. Hariyani to please begin the session. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Team Blue Circle, for having me here today. And thank you all the participants for taking your time out to understand, or rather, let's say, an opportunity for me personally on behalf of CHARGE+ZONE to share one of the most exciting developments about mobility in the country, and that is electric mobility. And well, this journey or this topic is probably not new. The journey is not new either. Electric mobility has been in development over the last decade or so. And while Tesla or some of the big names, they grab all the eyeballs, but then it has been around. Electric vehicles in the form of golf carts were around us for probably three decades or so, more than that. And there were early inroads by electric car company like Nissan, the famous Nissan Leaf, for example. So now to cut the chase, the Indian market evolved when FAME 1 and FAME 2 policies were launched. In fact, most of you might be familiar with this term, which is the faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. That's so FAME is an acronym for adoption or encouraging adoption of electric vehicles in the country. Now, having said that, it's something that it doesn't require any further introduction when we talk about the market size. Though we have been very ambitious about CHARGE+ZONE, but this particular topic is not about our company alone. You can obviously visit chargezone.com or our page on LinkedIn or other social media pages to know more about us. But yes, we are actually an EV charging company at the end of the day. Our vision and mission is simple: to provide EV charging services for electric vehicles in the country. Now, when we talk about EV charging, it's not just about electricity. It goes beyond the nuances of power sector. It actually goes. It's a vital intersection of electricity, of technology, and infrastructure game. And over the last 3 years, where we built up a network that currently serves large or vehicles in volume, such as electric buses and cars, as well as battery swapping for three-wheelers. It was a journey when we started off, when we realized that the charging stations are going to be unmanned. And I'm sure if some of you might be already owning an electric vehicle or electric car, for example, and you might have visited various charging stations, maybe Tata Power, Photon, CHARGE+ZONE, Charger. There's so many names in the market which rings the bell when we talk about electric vehicle charging. And you must have probably discovered that these are all unmanned charging stations. They're all driven by an app which is backed by the cloud technology. And as CHARGE+ZONE, we are one of the few companies in India who have a complete vertical stack in terms of the skills in developing the power infra, with the integration of renewable energy and energy storage, and the charging infra, then the technology layer, and finally the app and the billing management. Just for a small clarification, that just getting an app doesn't mean that you can charge, because there are several players emerging in the market who would like to become an aggregator of EV charging station, but it's not as easy as it sounds. You can't be an aggregator until you are able to bring a transactional-based platform using your app. Now, let's come to the main topic, which I'll probably spend another 10 minutes, and then we can have Q&A. So there is a very interesting stat, which says that less than 17% of Indians, they travel more than 51 kilometers on a daily basis using their vehicle. Now, that's very interesting. It also highlights the challenges. It highlights the need of what you call as an urban mobility or intra-urban mobility versus an intercity travel. And India, obviously, as a country, we've been very frugal, I would say. As a customer, we are very conscious about the unit economics on mileage. There is a famous tagline which says, "Kitna deti hai," used by one of the car OEM, which also means that yes, we not only when we are conscious about it, we are also probably conscious about using that vehicle, taking care of the vehicle, starting from garlanding and trying to break a coconut when you buy a car, all the way up to maintaining it as well. Which also means that, and it's a very important thing, parameter in that mind that always plays in the mind of a vehicle owner in the country. And now, when you talk about electric vehicle owner, obviously the first question that comes in their mind when buying an electric vehicle, or even before considering to purchase an electric vehicle, is where are the charging stations? Now this answer is now coming big time, in the sense there are probably now more than 15-20 companies in EV charging or building EV charging network in the country, and most of them are on the city-based charging network. Very few, probably apart from CHARGE+ZONE, probably there are some companies like Tata Power or REIL with Magenta, etc., who have tried to set up charging stations on the highway. But then it all boils down to that: if there is a charging station, is it reliable? Is it that if I find a spot and if it's available, can I book it using my app or reserve the slot using my app? And when I reach there, is there going to be a reliable charging point available over there? I hope there is no blackout. I hope there is no problem with the equipment, and so on and so forth. So that brought us to a very important decision that we took as CHARGE+ZONE around 3 months ago. Now on the left, you see this is actually a snapshot from our app. If you use Android or iOS, you can always download our app and you can see it by yourself, this number of charging stations. But more than that, let me showcase you one decision that we took as CHARGE+ZONE as to why we would like to build or electrify national highways and state highways in this country. And I think the need, though our decision was more of a leap of faith, knowing very well that even if you're going to put the charging station on the highway, the customers may or may not turn up. And And to our surprise, I must say that. And honestly, we were also taken by surprise, even after spending 3 years in this industry. We were not very mentally prepared that as soon as we put up Mumbai-Ahmedabad highway as the first ever Intercity charging station, that too with the fast DC chargers, we were not really ready to welcome the first customer on a day one when we commissioned this network. And well, I think it's been 3 months now. We have served more than 1,000 individual unique customers with more than probably 1,400, 1,500 charging sessions over the last 3 months. What does it really mean? It means that, well, the customers, when they buy EV, they are obviously not buying for traveling with Mumbai or Ahmedabad, or Delhi. They will actually want to take out a car, their EV, and go on the highway, because after all, 100 rupees petrol or 90 rupees by now is certainly not an exciting unit economics. And EV, when you spend a good amount of money, you will like to make take out the maximum out of it. And with this success, we launched Project Ethan, and in a sense, that's actually one of my favorite character, Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible. So that little caricature of Tom Cruise is not just to highlight that this is not an impossible, but something that is possible, of bringing charging stations all over India. And well, again, these charging stations are on food courts, they are on food malls. They are in partnership with those joints where you can spend like 20, 30, 40 odd minutes when you charge your car. And we very, very clearly did not want you to go with the oil and gas guys at the moment. Well, they have great locations for sure. They have probably very important, petrol pumps or gas stations located at important locations along the highway or within the city. But certainly, I've been there. I mean, we all been there. Most of us driving for last 10, 20, 30 years. And I'm not very sure how many minutes you really spent at a petrol pump. Probably a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, where the amenities are virtually absent. Surely there are some interesting development. Companies like GOBP or Shell coming up with new exciting looks, amenities at their petrol pumps right now. But I guess it will probably take a lot more than the 69,000 odd petrol pumps, not just to serve 69,000 charging stations. Probably they will require a lot more than that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the charging time is never going to be a minute or 2 minutes. It's always going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. And interestingly, I was just looking at one of the posts by the CEO of British Petroleum, Bernard, I guess, and he mentioned that only in UK, particularly, only less than half of the customers stop by their gas stations to fill the petrol. In fact, the other half are just there for shopping at Marks and Spencer, for example. They have a tie with M&S, for example. Now, this is a very exciting stats. What it really means that probably there is a change of pattern of consumer behavior when it comes to refueling or recharging either the electric car or refueling the petrol car. So with this, we decide to say, fine, now this is it. Let's go and set up these charging stations. And some of the very, honestly, it's a no-brainer in the sense that when you set up a charging station, there is essentially, I call it a 4-layer network, a 4-layer station, I would say. That there is an infra along with the power infra, because you got to get a new feeder line, for example. If there is no sufficient capacity of transformer, you have to put up a new transformer as well, and set up a charger over there, put up a canopy, put up the circuit breakers, LT panels, cabling, earthing, lighting arrestor, etc. It's a very classical electrical engineering application. And then you set up a charger, the second layer. The third is the technology, because you got to connect the charger to the cloud. And finally, fourth is your app and billing management. So these are the 4 elements that actually integrates or helps you build up the charging station. And well, there are other important stuff which comes along. If you want to really set up a solar rooftop, bring some component of renewable energy into the play. You will require an energy storage as well, because I'm not saying that India, we are as a country, we are power starved. We are not. We are a power surplus country now. But the reliability of the grid is a completely different question altogether. And this is not just India. It can happen in any country, in any city. I mean, we heard the blackouts in New York or Washington. Yeah, it also happened in Mumbai. Yeah, so it means that if you want to build up a charging station, it's like petrol pump, and you visit a petrol pump, you cannot tell a customer that petrol nahi hai. We are running out of petrol. You can't say that. Yeah, you will have to say that, well, this is 24/7 charging station which is available for recharging or refueling your vehicle. And since the charging time, which is the most famous question ever being asked, anyway, if you are driving a Nexon or a BYD E6, or for example, the new Mercedes or Audi, you'll be probably spending anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, from 20 to 40 minutes any which ways. So the public amenities are the most important one. And the sense that it's not just, it goes beyond the clean washrooms. It is also about having a little break and spending time more creatively, out there at the charging station. So that's been our journey so far, and we are confident to be there 1,000+ network within this quarter, hopefully early next quarter, and have really set up a plan to going ahead with the 50,000 charging point network, which is a 50x growth over the next 24 to 36 months. So that's it from my side. I will be happy to take your questions. I think, Gautam, we had some questions that had come, but for the people who have just raised hands, we'll love to hear that question to begin with. Thank you.
Surely. So the first question which has come on our platform out here is by Mr. Varun Chandran. He has asked, is CHARGE+ZONE open to integrating with aggregator networks?
Absolutely, Varun, absolutely. In fact, if you Google up CHARGE+ZONE and Photom, Photom is a Nordic-based company, one of the largest renewable energy companies in the world. They are in India for the last 15, 20 years, I guess. And we have recently tied up for creating what you call as a peer-to-peer. We've been in competition to each other. But for the first time, we have gone ahead and collaborated with them so that like mobile telephony 20 years ago, something like a roaming facility, we decided to give a roaming facility to the customer so that they, from a single app, they can access the charging network from both the companies.
Great. Mr. Venkat Durgamvar has asked, how about the blockchain technology plan for charging stations?
Yeah, Venkat, I think this is a very, very important question because let's keep in mind that a blockchain is all about settlement, right? Settlement of contracts, very, very, very broadly speaking. And when you talk about power or electricity is generally is a real time. Electrons flow. You can't store electrons until you have a battery storage, right? But in a electrical or power industry parlance, a settlement in a power sector is on a 15 minutes block. So we call there's a very famous term called PPAs, power purchase agreements, which allows the buyer and seller that you can settle the power in a 96 blocks in a 24-hour. So blockchain will be very, very useful as we move forward, especially when we are going to integrate the open access power onto a charging station. Today, we are just tapping the power from the grid, and that's it. But when we want to go and say, want to buy power from energy exchange or power exchange, I think blockchain will be one of the key point or a key technology to be implemented for a real time and absolute real time, like split millisecond settlement coming in. Yeah.
Great.
Yes, Venkat. Yes, the energy trading can be the best. Yeah, that's the right question actually. Yeah.
So Mr. Srinidhi Sampath has asked, how green is the electricity that flows through your charger? How safe is the installation, especially if it is unmanned and you're in an amenity zone?
Yeah, I've read the question.
How reliable is the billing?
Thanks, Gautam. Yeah, Srinidhi, it's a very vital question actually. When we so currently very few stations we have been able to make it green, in the sense not 100% green, as you know that solar is only a daytime generation. And in nighttime, you still want to be dependent upon the grid supply. So, but let me put it this way: India, in terms of all our stats, we are running now probably about to cross 100 gigawatt of our installed capacity for renewable energy. So, if I assume that 20% of my grid power is already green, so from that gross level, mechanics, 20% of the electricity is actually green flowing through our charger. Yes, the safety of the installation is of utmost importance. It is as safe as, let's say, having a refrigerator in your kitchen, right, or air conditioner in your office. So it's very, very, and again, you got to follow some of the toughest regulations for the electrical safety. And let's not forget that India, though we might not be too big in microelectronics or optoelectronics, but the electrical engineering industry has been here for more than 5 decades. And the very fact that we are self-reliant in all our not only power sector, but also in terms of electrical engineering expertise, kind of speaks volumes about our capability as a country, as an industry. And yes, and amenity zone, yes, all our charging stations are at all the amenity zone. And reliable is the billing. How reliable is our billing? Yes, let me put it this way. All the charging stations are connected to a cloud platform. In a way, we have kind of digitized the electrons. So when you digitize it means that, yes, it's all digital nature. The accuracy of the billing is right up to the last decibel. Yeah. I think we can click the questions of people who have raised their hands first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, anybody, please.
1 second.
Okay, I guess it's might be difficult. So I think we can go with the Q&A. I will request people to raise their hands to. Yeah, just to put a question here. So I have a question from Rishabh. Whether we are tying up, we're planning to tie with the local partners. And yeah, so half of our charging station, Rishabh, are tied down with various, as I said, people who provide amenities, especially food courts, because that's a very natural, facility that people would love to have access to. Similarly, there could be multiplexes, malls, and so on. That is true within the city. So revenue sharing model varies, but generally we bring in our investment as a COCO model, which is CHARGE+ZONE owned and operated. Then we are having 80-20 sharing. 20% of the service charge goes to the host or the place where the charging station is being installed. But we have one exciting scheme of DOCO model. We have just done a soft launch. We have not really gone big time. But I would like to share on this particular platform that yes, a DOCO model is now official for CHARGE+ZONE, which is dealer owned and CHARGE+ZONE operated. And you may write to us info@chargezone.com or kartikey.hariyani@chargezone.com. Happy to address any of your interest into this partnerships.
Parth Verma has asked, are you looking for any investors, collaborations in this domain to help you set up public charging infrastructure or highways of a city fleet charging infrastructure like for BlueSmart?
Yeah, absolutely, Parth. In fact, we have already put roughly $10 million on the ground, right, in terms of investing behind these charging stations, and a lot more to come. We have put up a plan of roughly $300 million over the next 5 years. Yeah, we recently have signed an MOU with a couple of public sector units, also state governments, to help us roll out the public charging infrastructure both in the city as well as on the highway. Yeah.
Mr. Venkat Durgamvar has again asked, Sir, highway, what kind of stations are under planning? But I assume you've already answered this. But if you want to add anything to
it. So basically, all the stations are fast chargers, right? Let's be very clear. This is the when you talk about the highways, you can't afford anything because there is, probably there are two types of chargers, right? You might have heard about a type 2 AC chargers, which typically takes 7-8 hours to charge your car, which is a great product for your gated communities, corporate campuses, where typically car gets parked for 3, 4, 5 hours or more. But on a charging station, it's all about super fast chargers ranging from 120 or 60 kilowatt all the way to 240 kilowatt. Yeah.
Great. So Mr. Satyendra Singh has asked, what is the school of thought to handhold to any startup or throw offer for joint venture with an enthusiastic tech guy or group of interested technical guys?
Absolutely, Satyendra. Feel free to write to us. I've been on a jury for a couple of incubators in India. One of them was iCreate recently, where we were supposed to award the top 3 startups in EV space. So happy to address it, and it's not just about the ecosystem; it's all about actual business partnerships that we're talking about. Yeah. Yes, Suresh, the cost of charging station, it varies. So if it's a fast charger on the highway, it will vary anywhere from 20 to 35 lakhs per charging station, depending upon the rating of charger, etc. And if you're putting on a gated community, which is a slow charger, then that will not be more than 90,000 rupees. So, but then it's a slow charger, right? So the charging station cost vary really from one end to another end. But again, it all depends upon the rating of the charger, what are the electrical infra that you got to build up, and so on and so forth.
Mr. Sanjay Saini has asked, what is the average time and kilowatt per hour consumed in a charging session across your network?
Yeah, as I said earlier, average time anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes. Kilowatt hours, again, depending upon the state of charge of your battery. If you're driving a Nexon, for example, which is a 25 kilowatt battery, and you turn up at the station with 15 kilowatt reserve, then you are going to charge another 10 units. right? And that will be typically 20-25 minutes. But generally, you will one would like to understand this EV charging in terms of how many minutes it takes to charge your car, and what range you're going to get after that. So in 20 minutes, if I'm going to get 150, 180 kilometers on a highway, I'll go for it. Yeah. So it's not just kWh, but also the kilometers that you can run with a 20-30 minutes charging.
Manas Arora asked, do CHARGE+ZONE foresee anything around making charging stations completely robotic, including charging guns for autonomous charging of vehicle without any intervention of charging station by vehicle driver?
Yeah, Manas, actually, it's all about. Currently it's a charging gun, right? Just like the petrol pump station is very look-alike charging station that you will see all the time. Autonomous is about wireless induction charging, but that's on a very early stage of experiment. And secondly, when the gun-based charging stations are getting extremely popular, and they are like now becoming a gold standard in the industry, particularly the CCS2 charger with a single protocol, which is largely dominating the space. So wireless induction charging will come in future, but I guess that will be probably for 5-7 years down the line, but certainly not for the high-speed charging. It will still be for slow charging. Yeah.
Your thoughts on hydrogen fuel cells versus electrical charging?
Yeah, it's a very famous topic, right? Very often debated in the industry. So let's understand very clearly. Electric charging means from the grid, the electricity goes to your battery powers your car, and that's it. In hydrogen, you take electricity to produce hydrogen. You take the hydrogen and give it to the fuel cell. The fuel cell will have to produce electricity again to charge the battery of the vehicle, and which in turn will charge, will enable your car to move. Now, this is very fundamental to understand that, and overall, the efficiency on hydrogen from the grid net to net basis is 70% less efficient than a direct EV charging. Well, hydrogen is the most talked about story these days, but I guess it is a great industry which is going to evolve. But to begin with, it will be primarily for your industrial applications like fertilizer plants, because that's where the famous chemistry equations, ammonia, for example, the NH4, right? So you require nitrogen, hydrogen, isn't it? Yeah. So hydrogen as a raw material wherever the industry wants. The green hydrogen means hydrogen produced by renewable energy is where it is, but it's going to be extremely important in going forward. But yeah, I think the hydrogen mobility probably we are a decade away from that.
Do CHARGE+ZONE manufacture the chargers in India?
Certainly, we are an energy company. Yeah, so we buy chargers. We are agnostic to any brand of charger in the world. We have now charging station in the United States as well, running and enabled by our cloud technology. So you bring any charger with a protocol or a data network protocol enabled, and it can be on our network.
So are there any partners who will enroll for installation and maintenance of these EV stations, and how?
Yeah, Madhur Kumar, we are working on this. Yeah, so currently we manage our own installation and maintenance, but going forward, we are creating a program called CHARGE Masters. And CHARGE Masters will be all about an O&M partnership within different territory and districts, cities, even villages and towns going forward. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Ramnath. Yeah, how are discoms reacting to a subsidized energy tariff? Yeah, the EV tariff is cheaper. I won't say it's subsidized. Yeah, because it is still expensive than a residential tariff, but a lot cheaper than commercial tariff. But Ramnath, there is no reason for discom to complain, because I've been a solar developer earlier where discom reacted because we had wanted to supply them electricity. But now here I'm a customer. As an EV charging station, you are a customer to discom, and discom is happy to have this new segment altogether, because currently, as you are aware, we are 25% power surplus in terms of generation capacity, and discoms, I'm sure they're looking for more customer base, and who can be a bigger customer than an EV industry? Yeah, who will be buying their electricity at a good rate. I'm not saying that they will be bought at commercial or industrial. Let's say that they are buying the electricity at 3 rupees or 3.5 rupees under what you call APC tariffs, and if they're going to sell at 6 rupees, 7 rupees, I'm sure there's a great margin, a great operating margin to play with. The discoms are very, very happy, obviously, and we are happy to see their support. It's amazing. Yeah, in fact, in terms of getting the approvals, irrespective of whichever state you operate. Discoms have been very, very proactive.
Seni's asked, have you seen any sign of users abusing the chargers, such as leaving the cable on fraud? Just adding to that, yes, how do you tackle it?
Yeah, right. So basically, Sanjay, we are trying to incentivize, honestly, that you put the charger gun back to it, and probably you'll get few percentage points. Or so we're working on that. You can actually visit CHARGE+ZONE.club. It's our new loyalty program, which is under draft right now. But the homepage is up, and we're happy for you to give the first basic enrollment. Just putting your email ID over there, and we'll come back to you. But yeah, I think your question is absolutely practical, and the only way to ensuring that is to incentivize the customers.
So just coming back to what Mr. Babu, the question you had addressed earlier, he said, agreed, sir, but should I be scared regarding the discoms?
Yeah, correct. So basically, and also what I see one more question from Ramnath Babu was the contradictory policy between what GUI and state policy. So one thing is whether if you are a discom, Mr. Ramnath Babu, then you need not be scared, because you have a great customer here who's going to consume probably 30-40% of your electricity going forward. And let's be honest about this. Electricity is a subject of state and not of the center. The center can give the guidelines. Yeah, if the max CA will come, CRC will come, and give you the set of policies and so on. But it's the state government who has to implement it. And the best part is more than 20 states, I think 21 states in India have already signed an EV policy there, and the discoms are all behind it. So while we live in a very democratic country, and state governments or state authorities do voice their difference of opinions, and they want to implement it separately. But what Hindi mein kahawat hai, or rather, let's say in pure Hindi, I would like to say, sarkar aapko dhanda karne deti hai, wo kafi hai, and that's what the policy is all about. Thank you.
Great. Varun has asked, how do we reach out to CHARGE+ZONE for a collaboration?
Yeah, do write to us. It's info@chargezone.com, or my own personal ID. I think Gautam can type it down on the chat box as well. Yeah, and do write to us.
Surely. Another question from Abhishek Ranjan is, what percentage of charging shall happen at public charging stations compared with homes/workplaces?
Yeah, Abhishek, it's people do ask us that who is your competitor. And I don't say that any name of the company, to be honest. I'm sure most of you are aware of the other players as well in EV charging space. I rather say home charging is the biggest competitor. Yeah, because, and then the reason is simple. Less than 17% of Indians that travel more than 51 kilometers per day. If I ask you that how many kilometers do you clock in your car a day, I don't think it's more than 30 kilometers. If you're a doctor or a lawyer, probably it's less than 20 kilometers, right? So when you see this kind of mobility compared to an 80 miles an average American drives in the United States, that's a basic fundamental difference. So at home and workplaces, the charging stations, at home charging, which is completely nothing in our radar because it's not a public charging. But if it's a gated community workplaces, we do set up charging stations on a paid basis. So if you are in looking out for that, we are more than happy to address that opportunity. But so to say, I must say that probably 75% of that charging, it's just a number I'm saying, but our 70 to 80% will be always at home charging or workplace charging, and the balance will be on the highway. Yes, Ramnath Babu, can we correlate the solar rooftop vis-a-vis EV? Yes, I've gone through that. Probably anybody who's been in renewable energy have gone through that pain of solar rooftop, whether it's net metering, gross metering, and so on. But once again, in solar rooftop, I was there to offer electricity to the discom who was not very happy. That is saying, no, I don't want too much of power. I already have a lot of power. As an EV, well, yes, discom wants to sell more power, isn't it? And as far as the rates are concerned, one of the things that discom will probably cringe about is the rate. Then, well, I think the rate is defined by the regulator, right? So when the discom every year, they go to the regulator with an affidavit and say, guys, I want now an increase because inflation, grid losses, blah, blah, blah. Regulator says, fine, okay. They take the hammer and pound it and say, okay, there is an increase of 1.5 rupees now from tomorrow morning. Then, well, discoms are not frowning. They're actually very happy. So same thing as far as the EV is concerned, EV tariffs are concerned. Well, they should be happy that there is more customers out there. And let's be very clear. When we set up an EV charging station, there is a hell of a lot of fees that we pay to discom. Yeah, the connection charges, one-time fees that we pay, right? And everybody who has dealt with factories, commercial offices, home, okay, forget the home part, but let's say gated communities and all, we all pay through knows some substantial cost to the discom, and they're really making a lot of money out there, right? So, and there is a recurring money or a gross margin anyway. They gain out of every unit of electricity sold.
Mr. Madhu Kumar has asked, these stations can also be powered by solar power, as in rural areas, electricity is a big problem. What are the solutions?
Well, yeah, Madhu, no doubt about it that the rural grids are not that as reliable as urban grids. This is very clear. And solar is not a solution. Solar is actually a kind of a renewable energy integration. You must have seen or read a lot of this phrases called integrating renewable energy to the main grid and all. What does it mean? Because renewable energy has never been a base load, right? They have never been a base generating station for you, because both solar power and wind power is always in the hand of gods. And so what you really do is you bring in solar power in rural and get the energy storage in place. And that as a combination will be unbeatable going forward. So we are preparing for it, especially on the highways, because on the highway, there are many locations which belong to the non-urban areas, the rural areas and so on. So at the end of the day, solar with storage will be a great opportunity to invest and ensure that your charging station is 24/7 available all the time. Yeah.
So, Mr. Hariyani, I'll just take one last question since we already overshot the time slot. It's a very pertinent question. What could be ROI for setting up and charging infrastructure station?
Yeah. So the ROI for the charging stations depends. If you're operating for fleet, it's less than 5 years. In many cases, also sometimes 3.5 years, depending on the offtake and so on. Because in fleet, it's dedicated for those set of vehicles. On highway, it's too early to say. It will take you probably anybody who wants to invest will require a very strong, staying power in terms of on being straight invested before market takes off in terms of consumption and so on.
Great. So thank you so much, Mr. Hariyani, for your time. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and we took home very valuable nuggets from today's session. And thank you for our audience for joining and asking excellent questions throughout the session.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So all have a nice weekend.
Yes,
Bye. Thanks for that.